Senator Cramer, thanks for having us in Washington, D.C. Much appreciated.
Great to see you.
Well, let's jump into it. First topic, of course, trade on the minds of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Last time we had a chance to visit just a little bit was at Peterson Farm Seed.
Yes.
And hearing from a lot of farmers want to get a Chinese trade deal done. We spoke earlier today at USDA headquarters with U.S. Trade Ambassador Greg Dowd and also USDA Undersecretary for Trade Ted McKinney. And they told us things were going well, and that's what we thought the last time we saw each other. But the Chinese started backsliding. They started comparing notes, and things just weren't meshing. And so now we have a renewed threat of tariffs on each side. But if there's a silver lining, we do have, it seems, until June 1st, until these new tariffs will go into effect. Do you think we'll be able to hammer something out?
So it's very interesting because you might remember at Peterson Seed Farm that day, Secretary Perdue said, while everybody was optimistic about a trade deal coming together shortly after that, he said, just remember, these are the Chinese.
Yes.
They're the people that bring you to the trough and then pull the trough out from under you, which is exactly what they did.
Yep.
This is predictable. It's a predictable sunrise. But to the point you just made about the Chinese retaliatory tariffs are designed to begin June 1, or at least begin the process June 1, which just implies to me anyway that they want to continue the discussion. I do think there's a silver lining. I think there's reason for some optimism, but we still have to remember who we're dealing with. So we remain optimistic, but the president keeps the pressure on. I also found it interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but right away I found it interesting that China retaliated against $200 billion of products that the president put tariffs on with $60 billion, which I think is significant because it's exactly what the president always says. They're going to run out of bullets before we do. They have more to lose than we have to lose. So maybe, just maybe we're breaking them a little. I think the important thing is to have a unified front from our end of it, and I think the president's getting that more than I even thought he might. Now, you and I can talk about some individual circumstances here and there. Certainly some industries, obviously agriculture chief among them, particular commodities within that which are more targeted. But all in all, I see a pretty unified front, including a bipartisan unified front coming from Congress, which doesn't happen a lot around here.
Yeah.
So maybe the Chinese will read that, hey, he's got more
bullets, as you said.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the next topic, USMCA, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Vice President Pence recently in Minnesota trying to drum up support for that. Senator Charles Grassley has said we may not be able to get that through Congress unless we lift the Section 232 tariffs.
Right.
How do you handicap that?
Yeah. So I think both are right. I think both are right that the president really wants to get it done this summer.
Okay.
We believe we're at a point now, and the vice president was at lunch today, as I said, and we talked about this.
Yep.
They're of the belief they can get it done this summer, but it's really up to Speaker Pelosi. We also believe we're at a point where if Speaker Pelosi would bring the bill up, it has to originate in the House. Once the bill is introduced, it has to be voted on within 30 days. We believe that it would pass. That right now there are enough House members to pass the bill, and we almost certainly would pass it in the Senate. So we feel like we're in a good place. The president's been patient with the speaker, wanting her to get comfortable with it. I think both Mexico and Canada have passed some laws that send the right signals as it relates to their labor concerns.
Yes.
So I did notice, though, when the vice president, I haven't mentioned this to him tonight, we're going to an event together tonight, but he was less than subtle about his target of influence being Colin Peterson.
Yes.
And I thought it was pretty remarkable because clearly people like Colin who support trade deals, support USMCA, he's in a position to make a difference, has the speaker's ear. For her to see that kind of both encouragement, shall we say, coming from the vice president to the point where he even came out to his district, and to know that means that the administration also would have his back. I think that's an important signal.
Okay. Another local issue back home, the North Dakota Grain Growers Association recently pulled out of the National Association of Wheat Growers. They said one of their reasons was they didn't get enough bang for their buck when it came to lobbying efforts in Washington, D.C. And I talked to sources in the wheat industry, and they were of the thought that the North Dakota Grain Growers is on a first-name basis with their congressional delegation. And so they're still going to get good representation in Washington, D.C. Did they consult you at all before they made that decision? Have they talked to you since?
No, they have not, but I'll tell you this. with regard to the trade organization, to the groups,
Yep.
Particularly the commodity groups. I would say that because of this, because of the direct access, the first name basis that North Dakotans and North Dakota activists, and frankly, producers themselves, have with their congressional delegation, that's part of why North Dakota punches above its weight class.
Yes.
And I think that they bring more to the table.
Yeah.
I agree. I would say, and this is just sort of a general statement, but the thing about commodity groups is that they do best when the farmers continue to grow their commodity. And that I do think that there are oftentimes, I've noticed times when there's been a disconnect with what a Washington lobbyist tells me and what a farmer will tell me.
Really?
And I think some of that is that, the checkoff dollars go to the trade group that represents, the crop that's they're making the money off of. And so they have an incentive to look out for themselves a little too much. I know that as a member of the Senate, and I can't speak for John for sure, and nor for Kelly, but you send me a North Dakota farmer to talk about policy more so than a Washington lobbyist, and I'm going to believe that farmer every time. And so, I didn't know about this decision. I'm not shocked by it. I'm slightly encouraged by it, frankly.
Okay. Well, final question before we run out of time. Weather around the country, you're well aware what's going on, very wet back home. You know what's going on in the Midwest. How are we progress-wise in the Senate on a disaster package?
Yeah, so that came up at lunch today as well. The leader McConnell addressed it. Our goal is to have something voted on by the recess. So we're here all this week. We're here all of next week.
Okay.
I think clearly Midwest senators need to bring something home. Southern senators need to bring something home. Republicans and Democrats throughout the country need to bring something home. And we've been playing a little bit of game of moving goalposts.
Yes.
And so we're going to vote on something.
Yep.
Whether we have an agreement or not, we are going to vote on something. And I think what I've been telling my colleagues and the media around here is people have to come to the realization that we have a divided government. And while we may not want certain things to be in this package, they don't want certain things to be in this package. And the only way to get what we want in this package is to give somebody else what they want in this package.
Yeah.
And the sooner we all accept that and understand that this is part of the deal of a divided government. It's why we have a bicameral legislature with 3 co-equal branches. And the thing is, the price tag is going to just keep going up the longer we wait.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see us bring something to the floor quickly, but we'll give our negotiators a little more time to work things out. But I'm confident we'll get something done before the end of next week.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we've only got a couple moments left. I'd like to thank you once again for having us.